The review we have all been waiting for is finally out. According to Piers Morgan, SCABIES is a Weaselly lickspittle making a living peddling garbage about the royals, and he knows that Endgame is full of lies. Hello everyone, welcome back to the King YouTube channel. We all knew that Piers Morgan was going to review SCABIES' new book Endgame, and we all knew the review was going to be scathing. But to tell you the truth, folks, I was not prepared for just how hilarious this review turns out to be. Now I know that for some people, Piers Morgan is a controversial figure. He's made some mistakes in his career, to be sure, but still, when it comes to the royal family, he knows his stuff, and when it comes to the Sussexes, again, he knows his stuff, and he doesn't like them one bit. And honestly, when it comes to taking down SCABIES, I think Piers Morgan is the best out there. If you want to read the full review, it is out there in the Sun, and the headline is, SCABIES a Weaselly lickspittle making a living peddling garbage about the royals. I know Endgame is full of lies. I'm not going to read the full article on this channel, however, I am going to share with you some of the highlights. So first of all, let's talk about this word lickspittle. I don't think I had ever heard it before, but Piers Morgan says that it is one of his favorite words in the whole English language. He explains the history behind the word. It's a derogatory medieval term first deployed in 1586 by a professor named John James Grinius, who wrote of flatterers which did lick the spittle of Dionysius the tyrant, and said that it was sweeter than the sweet wine. What a way to start an article. I mean, whatever your opinion may be of Piers Morgan, you got to admit, the man has a way with words. He goes on to write, in modern parlance, it's come to denote a fawning, sycophantic, brown-nosing toady who gushes insincere flattery for personal gain. Which brings me neatly to SCABIES, the heavy-eyebrowed little weasel who makes a living peddling constant garbage about the royal family on behalf of the world's most disingenuous victims, Meghan and Harry. Piers pulls no punches, but you know what? He is 100% correct in his description of both Harry and Meghan and SCABIES. In spite of the victim narrative that Harry and Meghan have been trying to sell us for years now, we don't buy it. They're not victims. In fact, they're some of the most privileged people in this world. And as for Scooby-Doo, I still don't understand why he is so far up their butts, but we can be sure that anything Scooby-Doo comes up with is going to be very biased against the royal family and very favorable to Meghan and Harry. It is interesting, isn't it, how Scooby-Doo defends Meghan and Harry no matter what. I mean, they could literally murder somebody and he would be up there singing their praises, saying that we just misunderstood him. Piers echoes basically the same sentiment. He says, until Scooby came along, I never thought I'd see a worse defender of the indefensible than comical Ali, Saddam Hussein's ludicrous information minister during the Iraq War, who boasted that American infidels were killing themselves in their hundreds at the gates of Baghdad, as TV viewers could literally hear US weaponry loudly destroying Iraqi forces in the background. Piers goes on to write, but obsequious Omid makes comical Ali seem like a bastion of veracity. All you need to know about him is that he can't even be honest about his age. Well, I'll add to that, he also lies about his appearance. I mean, that man has had so much work done. He looks a lot like Meghan these days, actually, except his skin's a bit lighter. Meghan has tried to make herself look blacker, whereas Scooby-Doo looks like he's trying to be whiter. Anyway, Piers Morgan goes on to give us some more details about his lying about his age, saying in 2020 he told the journalist Andrew Billen that he was 33, when in fact he's 38. And then he was proven to be lying, and he said, that was unfortunate and naive of me. You live and learn. Oh really? Most people live and learn, but it doesn't look like Scooby-Doo has learned his lesson at all. I mean, Finding Freedom was an absolute disaster, and here he's come out with part 2. It's true that people in Hollywood or people in the media lie about their ages all the time. But Piers makes a good point that when it comes to Scooby-Doo, we need to be able to believe him because he's peddling what he claims are facts about the royal family, the hidden story about the royal family that we've never heard. Well, if he's known to be a liar, who is going to believe any of his claims? Piers writes, because it goes right to the question of his credibility as he publishes another book, Endgame, spewing yet more lurid, largely unsubstantiated claims about the royals that once again paint Meghan and Harry as heroic, bullied, disrespected freedom fighters, battling a vile and decrepit institution intent on destroying them. Piers then goes on to sum up some of the claims that Scooby-Doo has made about William and Charles and Catherine. We've already talked about these damaging accusations in previous videos, so I'm not going to rehash them here, but Piers makes a really good point when he says, all of which, according to my own well-placed royal sources, is utter nonsense. And Piers Morgan informs us that he believed the royal sources instead of Omid Scobie because apparently Scooby-Doo has told lies about him in the book as well. Piers writes, in the book, Scobie states as fact that Queen Camilla and I enjoy regular chats on the phone, but the truth is I've never had a single phone conversation with Her Majesty in my entire life. He also says that when Piers called the Duchess of Sussex Pinocchio Princess and then a race baiter on Good Morning Britain, it was Camilla who quietly thanked him for defending the firm. This, again, is a lie. I had no contact with Queen Camilla in that period whatsoever. I did with some other members of the royal family, as I said at the time, but not Camilla. Scobie just read what I said and wrongly guessed it was Camilla. It does seem like Meghan and Harry absolutely love attacking Queen Camilla. I believe they see her as an easy target. She's the stepmother, so why not portray her as the wicked stepmother? That's pretty easy to believe, that old trope. And it does make a lot of sense when we remember that Meghan got all her information about the royal family from Disney movies. Because you see, in Meghan's mind, it's not her fault that she failed as a working royal. There has to be some villain to blame, and who better than the wicked stepmother? Piers does say that Scooby-Doo got some stuff right in the book. He says it's accurate, and his suspicion is about where he got that stuff from. He gives an example. Quote, he includes specific details of letters exchanged between Charles and Meghan after the Oprah Winfrey Wine-a-thon, in which he claimed there were concerns and conversations with members of the royal family about the color of her unborn son's skin. Piers goes on to write, Scobie says the letters name the two royals involved who supposedly expressed their concerns, but writes that he cannot name them legally. If those names are who I think they are, again, based on my own very good sources, I find it impossible to believe either of them would have ever expressed any racially motivated concerns about the skin color of Meghan and Harry's baby. Piers also points out that Scooby-Doo legally could reveal those names in the US because he would be protected by freedom of speech. But according to Piers, the reason he won't is because he knows he'd ignite a firestorm of fury and almost certainly provoke the royals concerned into publicly denouncing these wicked racist slurs for which Meghan's never produced a shred of evidence. Meghan and Scooby-Doo are both a couple of cowards. They love to do the same thing. They light the fuse to a bomb and then they walk away and claim they had nothing to do with it. It's pathetic, and it just makes the two of them look like a couple of liars, which is exactly what they are. Piers writes, the cowardly lickspittle chooses to smear the whole family with alleged guilt by association. According to Piers, one of the most disturbing aspects of this book is that Scabies is trying his best to hurt a family who is still in pain after the death of their beloved matriarch, the late Queen Elizabeth. Perhaps if there were some truth to these claims, it would make sense to write the book, but considering it's all a big bunch of BS, no, it doesn't make sense. Why are Meghan and Harry so intent on hurting Harry's family? Why can't they just leave them alone? Piers writes, but what is undeniable is that obsequious Omid is intent on causing as much damage as he can to a royal family still reeling from the death of their matriarch Queen Elizabeth II, and on self-promoting and enriching himself in the process. All while we are supposed to believe Meghan and Harry are keen to build bridges with the royals and to even want to spend Christmas with them at Sandringham, which seems about as likely as me being invited up there to pull a festive cracker. Piers added, I can't speak for Charles, Camilla, William, or Kate, but if two close members of my family had spent the past few years trashing the rest of us on global media platforms, the only way I'd want to spend Christmas with them is if they were human chestnuts roasting on my open fire. And he concludes his review by writing, Harry would do well to heed the warning of Dionysius the tyrant, who was left a broken man by his constant warmongering and got finally bumped off by his own fed-up family. Over the next few days, we're going to get more information about what exactly is in that horrid book, and I'm sure we're going to get more information about how many lies he told. The question is why? What for? Is it really worth it? Sure, maybe the book is going to sell well in the first few days, but long term, absolutely not. And when Scabies is facing the backlash from this book, does he believe that Meghan and Harry are going to be there supporting him? Because they're not. Well, I guess you know what they say, there is no loyalty among thieves, and it looks like the same can be said for liars. And you, what do you think about this book? Please let me know your opinion below in the comments section. If you appreciated our video today, please don't hesitate to share it with anybody else who would enjoy it too. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in, have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.